Welcome, everyone. I'm Amy Seeley, president of Seeley Test Pros and Leap, helping students to succeed in all kinds of tests from 8th grade to grad school throughout Ohio.
And I'm Mike Bergen, president of Chariot Learning, helping students with Test School and Life based out of Rochester, New York.
Between the two of us today, we have over 60 years of experience at the highest levels of the test preparation and supplemental education industries.
We both love to talk and learn about the latest issues in education, testing, and admissions. So let's get down to tests and the rest. The fascinating topic we want to talk about this week is ourselves. Time for another episode of EXTEMP with Amy and Mike. Hello, Amy.
So good to chat with you, Mike. I feel like we let this month slipped by us, right?
Well, it slipped by us because somebody has been on the go.
Somebody has been on the go. Oh, who would that be, Mike?
I've been waiting for weeks to hear about your trip. Amy, spill it. Tell us where you went. Tell us every fabulous detail.
So I had the wonderful pleasure and good fortune to be able to go to Ireland with my sister. So I have two sisters. So all my travels of late have been, of these really big travels, have been with family members. And so this was an opportunity for me to go with my sister, who's a year younger. We've only ever done like one night overnights together. So this was a big deal. We were gone for like 9 days.
Mm-hmm. Now, based on the pictures, you guys seem to have a fabulous time.
We flew into Dublin. We were there, Dublin, 2 nights. Then we went to Galway on the train for 3 nights. And then we came back to Dublin for the final 2 days. I will say that the beautiful thing about traveling, especially if anybody's a nervous or anxious traveler, what I'm learning and finding is the more you travel, obviously, the more confident you get. Like the idea of booking hotels, booking trains, where to go, all of those good things. So for me, this is like my 3rd major trip, like actually abroad in the last year. And for my sister, this was the first time she ever flew out of the country, other than her honeymoon, like to the
Wow.
Caribbean.
Well, I mean, she's certainly lucky to be traveling with someone as seasoned as you.
So I have less, nervousness. She has more, but it was one of those situations where I was happy to spend time with her. It was interesting because even if she were to listen to this episode, we were laughing about it now. We did reach that moment of time, Mike, where your travel companion not down with what you want to do.
No, that happens very often.
So if you ask my sister, she had given me what she thought I wanted one night. And I could tell in her face, she wasn't feeling it, but she was giving it. So the next night she felt she'd already done it. And I'm like, no, we didn't get that, which of course is when you go to Ireland, it is going into a pub and ordering yourself Guinness or Smittix. I discovered that I like both Guinness and Smittix, by the way. And there has to be Irish music. Yeah. So I wanted, like after like maybe it was like our 4th or 5th night, I wanted the full-on pub night experience with traditional Irish music. Mm-hmm. And of course, we found ourselves in Galway. Galway, by the way, is amazing. It's young, it's youthful. There's so much energy, a lot of stuff packed into a small place.
Galway has such a great reputation.
And we happened to be returning from one of our day adventures. I think that day we were at the Cliffs of Moher and we were on the Aran Islands like 2 or so as we were out. But she was hangry. And she was like, I'm not. And it was humid that day. We landed in Galway, back in Galway, in the middle of this major international arts festival parade with this mechanical large grasshopper with like acrobats. And so you couldn't get anywhere because it was so crowded. So I said, let's go into this pub. That pub, which was a great pub because I went back later, was hot and sweaty, and it was like a rave inside of like an Irish pub. He was like, I can't do this.
Right.
And I'm like, but I want to do this.
Yeah.
So we ended up I was just like, you do you, I'll do me. So I went back and literally found myself, there was a spot at the bar and I'm like, this is where I'm supposed to sit. I was a little brave because I'm like, I don't take myself to bars by myself. But I literally saddled up next to a 59-year-old drunken Irishman who had lived in Boston for 35 years. And we chatted for like an hour. And then he leaves. And my next companion of the evening was a 36-year-old dairy farmer from Northern Ireland.
There you go.
And he and I spent the rest of the night together, buying each other drinks. And so that was really, I got my like very, very like, because
That's
of
an
course
authentic experience.
it was
You're there
authentic.
hanging out in a pub, talking to people that live there, and that's how you get to know the place.
Yeah. So that was very much, and to me, going to Ireland was not a busy trip as I've been on. So we had some activities during the day, but the idea was to be able to unwind in the evening. I had my first Guinness in Ireland, and as promised, it tastes delicious over
Yeah,
there.
I bet the Smittix also
Oh, I
tastes
did.
great
Every
from the
day
tap
I was
over
like,
there.
I cataloged my Guinness experience every day. I had a Guinness to enjoy for the day. We did the Guinness Tour
Uh,
Museum in Dublin. But no, it was a wonderful trip. And compared to my Italy trip last year, that was like 100 degrees. We were sitting at about 66 to 68 degrees every day, with, as
mhm.
you probably imagine, little bit of misty rain.
Sure.
Um, but
Everything's
it was
green.
wonderful.
Yeah, that's
Wonderful trip.
fantastic. Did you get enough history?
So interestingly, what I kind of realized is how little I really know about Irish history. I mean, like I was
It's funny
embarrassed
that
for
you know
myself.
so much English
I know
history and
so
so
much.
little Irish.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm like a huge like English history buff, U.S. history buff, especially like Revolutionary War or like I like World War II.
Mm.
But the first tour we actually took on the first day was at Irish jail, and so but it was a great jail because it was like you were seeing where so many of these, you know, like activists back in like the early 20th century were imprisoned. And I think my takeaway was Stephanie and I had been in Boston on a long layover going over, and I'd been to Boston recently. And so we take for granted in the US that we had our revolution, we had our time where we separated from Britain, right? And then we've been free for hundreds of years. To realize that the Irish history experience of independence, if you will, is so drastically different and how
Yes.
long and how and so to understand that that was really my kind of takeaway was really understanding because like in our lifetime in the 80s the 90s the amount of like the bombings and the terrorism in Ireland that it's like that wasn't that long ago,
That's right.
compared to the US. So yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. So what have you been up to, Mike, while I've been on my little travels?
So, unlike you, I don't want to go anywhere during the summer. So, I did my big cross country trip
You
in
did.
June that we discussed, and now my son is home, my daughter is home. My son is now fully established to move back, and he is back in the culinary business, and
Good for
he's
him.
set up, and he's working all the time. My daughter, she's working all the time, and she's heading back to college in a couple of weeks, so I have a trip to Vermont coming. But basically, my brother and his family visited. I don't, I- Upstate New York is so beautiful this
This
time of
time of
year.
year.
Where am I going to go? Some friends and I, we've been doing Finger Lakes brewery tours because we
Oh,
have these
cool.
amazing microbreweries all over the Finger Lakes now. So we just did a Hammondsport trip this weekend. We're going to do Auburn and explore that area, which is near Syracuse. So this is the place to be. Plus, I'm so busy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have time to go anywhere.
Well, it is interesting, right? I mean, I think we may have talked about this before, but it's just very different what the test prep calendar year looks like
Yes.
now as compared to when you and I started our careers in test prep, over 30 years ago, where there was a very decided there are periods of time. Now it does not end,
It,
especially right with having had the introduction of last year's with the July ACT, now the August and the September SAT. Like,
it changes everything. It used to be, and I know that my area runs later than a lot of other places in terms of timelines, that most New York students never wanted to really start summer prep until after the 4th of July.
true,
This
that's
year
true.
we were busy all the way through June. And now like more people are still coming. So like
Right.
now it's past the 4th of July and you're still getting all the stragglers who think that they can call 3 weeks before the test and get a great, like get ready. I'm coming back from camp the second week of August and I'm taking the August SAT. Let's do it. I mean, it's funny how everybody has all these ideas, but our calendar is definitely now, there is no letting up. There's
Well,
always time to prep.
and that's why I think anymore, I think it in the industry, it's you have to reevaluate. If you are going to take a break or do anything for yourself, there aren't naturally built in times necessarily. And so you just kind of have to figure out when can I like take my
Sure.
moment.
But I also
Um,
think that summer is the worst time to plan that because you have the confluence of rising juniors and rising seniors this
that
time
is
of
true.
year. This is the like
The
i-
overlap of
if
the
you're a senior who
classes.
hasn't earned the test score that's necessary and you're hoping to apply early decision, early action, you've got to log your best score by October SAT. If you're a rising junior, and you have high aspirations, maybe even National Merit Scholarship
Right. Sure.
qualification, you've got to prep over the summer
Yeah.
and get ready for the same thing. So there's two important constituencies that you have to take care of at the same time, and it's funny because we just released an episode that we did with Brian Eufinger about testing timelines for the class of 2027. And I mean, that's the timeline, right? If you are a rising junior or you're rising senior, summer is go time.
Well, it's interesting because I'm wondering if you feel this way. I feel more pressure right now. If you're coming to me in your class of 2026, do you have
Yes.
that like where you would have that initial session with a student, you're trying to kind of lay out what you're going to do and what this is going to look like. And then I feel this welling up in myself of like, can we do this? Right?
Yes,
Like this
totally.
is
I
because
feel
we
the exact
know,
same way. And like I tell parents, right, obviously we're going to prioritize trying to get seniors taken care of
right,
as long as they're willing to put in the work, but it's not easy.
right. Because
Because
you're
at the same time,
realizing,
when you hear a student that's coming in and they're like, oh, yeah, you might have National Merit Scholarship potential, how are we going to miss this opportunity to get you ready?
right, because you're really under the gun time wise. And that, I think that's why it's interesting now having this, the SAT in both August and September. Actually,
And
I was just
October.
calculating for a student who is a junior, and I said, wow, from today, you basically have 12 SAT test dates.
Yeah.
But I go, you only have 8 ACTs for him.
Hmm.
And it was like talking about how are we going to leverage and when do we want to leverage it, knowing even with the SAT timeline, we get that that desert, right? That
Yeah.
December SAT desert to the March, right? There's
Hmm.
that period of time where there's like no SAT for anybody. Um, so it is kind of interesting, talking about, but ultimately it is tricky because you do, I think as a tutor, I feel more pressure going into August, knowing with my seniors how much more important it is to pull it off because especially if they're playing early, that September or October that were pretty much it. And they have to, if you're a senior, nobody wants to be testing in October because that means you're combining your schoolwork, your college apps with your test prep. Like that is just not a desirable position to be in for seniors, I think.
That said, there's an entire constituency of seniors that can use all the time leading up to the December tests, right? Like they've got the time, and some of them
A
are going to need
senior, I
it.
mean, a senior
A
could, but
senior
well,
who's applying regular decision.
however, regular in some places in Ohio, the Ohio State University is so desirable amongst most of our students
Yes.
that dictates the final test date, right? Because if you do not apply early action to Ohio State, you don't have any chance of getting in. And that means September is your last ACT, and you can still eke by with an early October SAT.
You're talking about public flagship universities. And
Hmm.
that reminds me of something that I wrote about in College Eagle. It's interesting trying to be on the college news beat. And an interesting study came out about amenitized housing and how, for more and more students attending these public universities, room and board is representing a greater share of what their full bill is because private equity and foreign investors have gotten into the what do they call it? They call it purpose-built student accommodation. So it used
That
to
sounds like a
be that, right?
euphemism for something, Mike.
Yeah, of course. PBSA, you know that this is an economic category. It used to be that college towns were mainly serviced by local landlords. They
Hmm.
were connected to the communities, they were relatively responsive to what was happening at the university, but more and more the student housing is being invested in from outside the community as a
Interesting.
profit center, purely a profit center.
Ah,
And they're adding all kinds of bells and whistles, amenities that students might not choose to invest in, right? Like if you're the parent
hmm
and you're like, well, I'm not sending my kid to college to live in a place with a private gym on every third floor and a special lounge and all
hmm
of this stuff, but you wind up having to pay for it because there's not enough housing.
Right.
The universities are not building the housing anymore. They are counting on these external agents to provide housing, and these external agents see this as a steady, lucrative revenue stream.
Well, I think what they're banking on is the fact that so many of our students are like their luxuries, right? Like they're sort of like those amenities, meaning they're coming from homes where, you know, they live in a leisurely way, in which case
Certainly.
they
And
show up
that,
on a campus and they like,
yeah,
I want that.
which makes sense if you're applying to a fancy private university, right? You're applying to High Point University. You're applying like you're going somewhere where you're going to spend a lot of money for the full college experience. But what about University of Ohio? What about these public universities where students are going because it's a more
Well,
affordable,
that's a dilemma, right? Because what
right?
you're doing is normally the public are going to be considered to be um, a better economic choice. So what
A
you're
better economic
suggesting
choice. And
is
I
they
mean,
may
right.
become, they
I went
may,
to SUNY Stony Brook, right? I can assure you there were no amenities in my dorm.
well, Mike, that was just a few years ago, right?
Yeah, right. You're right. It wasn't yesterday.
But
And I'm sure things are a lot fancier now, but the whole point is why do you go to a state university very often? It's because you want to control your costs.
well, but the other thing though to keep in mind is how they're obviously trying to compete with private universities that are investing in those kind of amenitized, sort of situations where the students are like, oh, I want to go where it's comfortable, and maybe then they can try to bring those students back. But I think what you're suggesting, it's interesting, is you're saying these are being outsourced. It's not the
This
university per se that's
university isn't
doing it,
doing it. That's the point, and they don't have control over it either.
which is sadly, which is kind of scary, implies that over time, if these private, you know, kind of, if it's owned privately, it means that they could then start to increase the prices. It's like a monopoly,
But they
like,
are
right?
increasing the prices,
Yeah.
and it's also affecting other homeowners and renters in the
In the
area because
area.
it's raising the general
Right.
cost of
Exactly.
living there, and that changes the texture of the neighborhood.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true.
So be on the lookout.
Something to
This is
watch
a
out
thing
for.
that
Right.
I think all of our listeners should be paying attention to.
Yeah. So what projects well, I mean, like right now, project wise, Mike, I don't know how you're feeling, but what projects are you working on anything right
I'm
now?
feeling
What's going
good.
on?
I'm feeling good. I did the enhanced ACT revision for Test Bright, and
Yay.
now I'm doing some SAT revisions, like cleaning some stuff
hmm
up, learning some things. I'm getting so many iterations with really fantastic students, digging deep into the SAT and, and pulling out some skills that are more evidently important than were
hmm
before. And so making some tweaks to the curriculum, and this is in preparation for a big thing that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I think I'm ready to pull the trigger in September.
What is it?
Test Bright Tutor School.
Oh,
I'm going to
tutor training?
tutor training. I'm going to offer group tutor training in either SAT, ACT verbal or SAT, ACT math. I'm thinking like a certain number of hours, a certain structure that will even involve opportunities for teachbacks. So it's not just a listen to what I say, but show what you're capable of.
Are you thinking about making it a credentialed? Something that could
Well,
it have a credential?
what I'd like to do is get to the point where it's a refined system.
Mhm.
Credential is a charged word, right?
Well,
Like you
of
can give
late, we see
anyone a
that so
certificate
many,
of
you could get,
completion.
right. I mean, to be
Yeah.
fair,
I
that's kind
think
of what
we're
I
going to enter
mean,
a
but
marketplace where there will be opportunities for that. I'd like to think the real credential is to say that you learned test prep from me. that you got a little training from
The
me.
Mike Bergen seal of
Yeah,
approval.
that's a credential. I think that that's a credential, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if you were to train someone with all of your experience and all of your success, that would carry weight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in
Mm-hmm.
a similar situation, and this is something that's a big focus of mine. And I've wanted to do it for a while, and I've kind of been thinking about it, and I believe the time has
Well,
arrived.
the thing for you, tutor training. This is not a new. I mean, to be fair
No,
to you, like
it's not
that's
new.
not. It's
It's
not
training tutors
new
for
to. I
decades.
would say for
Yeah,
your purposes, it's not a new thing, but it's more about trying to really be intentional or deliberate on how you can do it outside of chariot learning, right?
that's exactly right.
Which is understandable.
So excited about, I think there's going to be a lot of work putting it together, and I expect over the next month to be forming it, picking dates, and letting people know about the opportunity to get it on the beta class.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exciting. That's wonderful. Yeah.
What do you think of the name Test Bright Tutor School? Is that a good one?
Test Bright Tutor School.
That's what I'm trying to come up with. I think it
I
works.
like the word academy. I mean, but that's just me.
Well, you're a little more sophisticated than I am.
No, actually, the funny thing is, you and I talking about words is kind of interesting because what our listeners wouldn't know is how many times over the years you and I have had to come up with or think about what do we want to
Yes,
call that? Like,
that's
right? What
right.
should the name be? And so it's funny. So I'll just stew on that. What would be the good name? But yeah,
I'm going to need your input.
yeah, I like academy. I like that word, and I don't think it's overused. So that's why I kind of even like it more.
Hmm.
So working on projects for me is, honestly, I'm getting ready for all of like the eighth grade stuff, right? So all of our high school admissions, we're laying all the groundwork. And so usually we sort of make that transition from a lot more of our college admissions tests, SAT and ACT, at least in the months of like later September, October.
Yeah.
So we're kind of gearing up for that. Um, I mean, ultimately, you know, I've had to, well, everyone should know, I've just celebrated my 1 year anniversary for Sealy Test Pros and Leap.
So
So that's
exciting.
coming with a little bit of like reflection and like moving forward and like, what does that look like? So, um, what it really looks like is a lot of the things we have available for students online, a lot of variety. So, like being able to do an SAT class live online, do an SAT class in person, do an ACT class on demand. So a lot of like different products. And you'll laugh, we've been trying to get everything off the ground for our on-demand ACT, enhanced ACT. So what's interesting about that is all of the videos and all the PowerPoints and everything we're just getting loaded, but we have a list of people already who want that class
Yeah, that's great.
because we literally had to finalize all the recordings.
Hmm.
So it was interesting. No sooner was the July ACT, the final legacy ACT, people were queuing up to be like, but on demand. That's what's interesting. It was the on demand. So we're trying to make sure that those on demand programs are as robust and good. And as we launch into this brand new, not brand new, but
How fun,
new
right? I mean, it's
ACT,
just every season is something new.
every at some point, Mike will be like, 1 month, Mike, I want to be, we're like, okay, there's nothing new. Everything is the same. Are we
Good
are we
luck
gonna
finding
get there,
that month.
Mike? Where we could be like, okay, it's not new, it's just improved. I want to get to the point where everything's not new. I just want it to be like improved, right? I'm
Improved.
ready for the
Well, I
improved
mean, I
phase.
certainly think that as far as the SAT and ACT
Well, you're
go,
lucky. The SAT curriculum for you, when you just have mentioned about this idea of rebooting it, you
yeah,
are in the improve mode. Like
that's
you're
right.
tweaking for the
That's a great
improvements, which is
feeling.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we'll be getting there, right? And we'll
Yeah.
get there after a year of the enhanced ACT will be there as well.
Right.
And we should achieve some equilibrium there.
Yeah.
There are other tests, though, and
Yeah.
other
There are other
challenges.
tests. There are other tests.
Are you traveling anywhere or speaking anywhere in
Mike,
the
I
next
am
month?
not going anywhere in August that I know. Actually, no, I will be going to Cincinnati.
Yeah,
I probably will. I got to make a
that's a
trip down
place.
there. But no, nothing. I mean, no, not the exciting kind of travel,
No,
right?
no, me neither. I'm going to be traveling to Vermont to drop my daughter off at
Yeah.
school, but that'll be a quick trip. Like I said, where else would I want to be than here? And
You're making me
when am
want
I
to
going to
come
have
to New
time?
York, Mike. Actually, what I hope, Mike, actually, what I really hope is that maybe there
Uh-huh.
will be an impromptu trip in August. And honestly, as we're talking, I was like, I keep saying to him, I'm going to come visit you in Rochester.
Yeah.
I'm like, that actually needs to be the impromptu trip.
This is
So
the
maybe
place.
when they talk to us next month, we'll be like, hey, Amy just got back from visiting
We
Rochester.
almost came to Cleveland. We were trying to figure out with
I,
the
you're
Sarah and
always
Mason
welcome in
and I, we were
Cleveland.
like, where could we go for a weekend that we have time for? And Cleveland was like winning, and I was like, oh, good. We'll ask Amy what to do. But then it turned out we didn't have time.
I know. So yeah, but who knows? We'll see. Yeah, if I can make a trip, maybe I'll head up north to see your beautiful New York state.
Would be a smart decision on your part.
Yeah.
All right, look, Amy, we could talk about ourselves all day. Unfortunately, we're out of time.
It's always a pleasure, Mike.
The pleasure is mine, Amy.
Awesome. We hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as we did. Be sure to join us for another fascinating topic and guest on the next Tests and the Rest.
Did you enjoy this episode as much as we did? Find expanded links and more for this and all of our episodes at our show page at testsandtherest.com. While you're there, be sure to explore everything the larger TestBright site has to offer, including real, expert, unbiased answers to the toughest admissions testing questions. Of course, we'd love for you to rate, review, and subscribe to Test and the Rest on your favorite podcast platform. If there's a topic or guest you'd like us to feature, just let us know and spread the word.